morning, everybody. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. We are few in number, but not little in vigor. What I'd like to do just for a minute is when I originally planned this course out, the idea was, we would sort of have a theme throughout the whole thing, and that it would all fit together. That was the goal. So why don't we just hit on some of the concepts that we've already covered? What are some concepts or some things that have stood out to you? Any little lessons or anything that you've picked up throughout the course? Any nuggets of wisdom or tidbits that you can point to?
I'm farming more.
Okay.
What did she say?
She said she's farming more.
Oh, yeah.
So you've gotten
I
into it.
actually went into a business with somebody I didn't know recently to leave my business card,
Uh-huh.
and that worked out real well, and ended up I sort of knew them.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Well, that's
Oh,
good.
that was good. She let me leave my cards.
Oh,
Yeah. Farming is very important, and Zan Monroe, I mentioned I heard him speak in New York, and one of the big things he talked about was that we've got to stop making real estate a hunting, more of a hunting experience, and make it more of a farming experience. And the point he made was that we as a country and as a civilization really came a long way when we went into more of the farming. I guess I'm not going to be able to say it as good as he did, but essentially the joke was that he said, real estate used to be, and in a lot of ways still is, an agent. They come into the office, they hang out, they do things that they need to do and want to do, and then all of a sudden they realize, I'm hungry, so I think I'll get up and go out and kill me a deal and drag it to a closing, and it was sort of this mentality of I'm gonna go out and make and produce when I feel the need to. And farming is all about, it's about consistency. It's about building something that you can do a little bit of every single day. And so I'm glad to hear that you're doing that. And again, nothing operates on its own. And at the end of the day, we still do have to go and sell and close a deal and drag it to a closing, right? That's never going to change, but that farming helps with the predictability. But what other things? Has anything stood out to you? Themes. We talked about our business and treating it as a business. How do we do that? How are we doing that? What are ways we want to do that?
I've made spreadsheets, to be more consistent with my follow-ups,
Okay.
and that's
Good.
really helped.
Good morning.
I think the importance of a well-prepared, organized, professional listing presentation
Yeah.
is very important. Got lots of competition out there. And, Caldwell Banker has a lot of tools to make it that much more professional. And I think it can show where we have legs above the competition, especially in the area of technology.
I agree. Yeah, well, that's good. I appreciate that. I think that's at least a part of why I believe we're all here. Is we believe there's some value in the systems and what the brand brings to the table, the Coldwell Banker brand. So, this morning what we're going to talk about is Coldwell Banker has a brand, right? There's a feeling that is elicited when people bring it up. Those who have been exposed to the brand, okay? There's thoughts. Think about, any company that what are some companies that have a very pricey brand, where they trade heavily on the brand? Does anybody have a few?
Nordstrom's?
Nordstrom's is absolutely, what is their brand essentially? What is the essence of their brand at Nordstrom's?
Highest quality.
Quality of the goods?
Right.
What else?
Customer service.
Customer service. I cannot tell you how many case studies we read in business school about Nordstrom and about just the level of customer service. And I mean, just it's amazing. So, but yes, I mean, when you think Nordstrom, you think high quality. You think an experience that you'll remember. A lot of people, you know, they have one of the most amazing return policies from what I remember, and there's value in the brand. What other brands do y'all know of that have a lot of values? Anybody know what recently became the most valuable brand in the world? And what the one prior to that was? I mean, you can restudy. You can, but essentially, Apple just overtook Coca-Cola.
Right.
Okay, so you don't buy, you know, a soda. You buy a Coke, right? I mean, the brand is so strong that it literally is synonymous with the product. And so, you know, and Apple just recently, I mean, the value of Apple stamps their brand to something, and no matter what it is, there's a certain value that comes from that brand. So that's what we're going to talk about this morning. Several of the thoughts and ideas I've had come from excerpts from this book, which I will go ahead and say I have not read, but I have had, I've seen numerous people comment about this, and one of the guys we're going to watch a video of actually mentions this book. So if you're looking for a book and you want something to take this to the next level, I would suggest you take a look at this one. So just one of the excerpts from sort of the kind of a forward sort of statement that I found online, and I'll just read it. Nobody understands branding better than professional services firms. Look at McKinsey or Arthur Andersen, which is now Accenture, which there's some irony in that, but for a model of new rules of branding at the company and personal level. Almost every professional services firm works with the same business model. They have almost no hard assets. My guess is that most probably go so far as to rent or lease every tangible item they possibly can to keep from having to own anything. They have lots of soft assets, more conventionally known as people, preferably smart, motivated, talented people, and they have huge revenues and astounding profits. So does everybody understand what I'm kind of like the difference between what a company that he's talking about that's not service related, that's more of a product related company? We understand the difference, right? What are we?
We're service related.
Right. Yeah. So the reason this stood out to me is there's a lot out there about branding that as it relates to products. Okay. And there are things we can glean from that, but what I want to focus on is what the big service companies focus on and how they promote their brands. Okay, because I think that's more important. So, a couple questions: how would you compare us to companies like Arthur Andersen, you know, formerly Arthur Andersen, McKinsey? What are some other service companies where it's heavy soft assets? Very few. And when I say assets, think about it like this. All right. If you got machinery that outputs a widget or a product, if you have trucks, you know, let's say you own a pest company, right? You have hard assets. You have to have trucks. You have to purchase chemicals and inventory them. You know, so those are hard assets, right? But how would you compare us to these types of companies? What similarities do you find?
Well, any service industry would, like what Terry said, I mean, we are a service
Right.
industry. Like, I've talked to my financial company that I do my IRAs with,
Mhm.
and they always have like a survey that you can take at the end, and I got off the phone, I don't usually take them unless they're really, really good.
Right.
And the people in customer service there were outstanding, and they answered all my questions, they got back to me, they followed up on what they said they were gonna do, and, I mean, to me, if we don't do that,
Right.
we've lost credibility.
Okay.
Is that what you're kinda going for?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if you don't have widgets to sell, what are you selling?
You.
So, right, so it's important to look to and compare yourself constantly. If you are your own business, you know, we should be learning from other companies and how they market and how they brand and how they present that brand. So, and I'm going to define brand later, but I'm intentionally waiting. So, so is an agent's distinguishable value what they do for their clients? Just think about that. You don't have to answer it, but when I say distinguishable value, how do I distinguish myself? Kind of what comes to mind? All right. Is it how they do it? All right. So it's not that I do it; it's that I may do it differently, okay, or I do it in a certain way. So if not, how? Tell any thoughts? What is a distinguishable value, and what is distinguishable value in a service business? I mean, if I can't sell you a product that shaves more closely, or I can't, sell you a product that does whatever you're wanting it to do twice as fast, or if it's not going to last 3 times longer than other competitors, well, what is it? How am I comparing myself? How am I getting a leg up? Okay, and it's okay if nobody. We're kind of working around to it. So
Well, actions speak louder than words.
okay.
It's the quality of your service.
Uh-huh.
All of our competition provides the same service, but hopefully we provide a much better quality service.
And it's an ongoing contact. I'm sorry.
Yeah, more thorough and more knowledgeable. I think that's a big thing.
Okay.
Probably more follow-up than some other industries might do.
Okay. I think we're on the right track. I really do. So we'll continue and come back around to this. But good thoughts, good comments. So here's what I want you to do. If you have a pen and a piece of paper, get it out, please. And I want, this is very important to do this quickly and to be very honest in the way that you do it. All right. So I'm gonna ask you to write down at least three things that come to mind when I ask you the following question. Okay, you ready? What are 3 ways you can distinguish yourself from other realtors? And you got 45 seconds. 3 ways you can distinguish yourself from other realtors. Just write them down as quickly as you can. First thoughts that come to mind. Don't try to play the game. Just front of mind. What comes to mind when I tell you that to do that? I guess once you put your pen down, I'll know you'll have at least 3. All right, no, keep going. Go ahead and finish. 3 ways that you can distinguish yourself from other realtors. Chris, you might be able to get a few, but I just front of mind, whatever's in the very front of your mind when I say that. We've heard this a million times, right? Anybody that, I mean, if you could watch literally thousands of videos of people telling you that marketing is all about distinguishing yourself. So surely we can think of at least a few things. They don't have to be right. I mean, All right. So, all right. Here, let's go ahead. So here's a couple questions. So, well, first of all, what are some things that y'all wrote down. Whoever's brave enough to just throw a few things out there.
I know, right?
I hate putting y'all on a spot this early in the morning. This is our brains are not fully functional yet. So, but anybody have a thought? Like, again, we're not judging. We're not. The point here is that I want the front of mind. I don't give you a lot of time because I want whatever sort of comes to your mind to come out. Anybody brave enough? Yeah, Mike.
Education.
Okay, education. All right, that's good.
Honesty, integrity.
Honesty and integrity. Okay,
Clever advertising.
clever advertising. All right.
Answer your phone. You'd be surprised how many people tell me, but
Okay.
I've tried to contact other realtors, they don't answer the phone.
Mhm,
All right.
heard
That's
that.
true.
Yeah.
Never call back.
I'm
Making each customer a priority one.
Yeah. Okay. I'm actually impressed with these. I kind of they're more along the lines of right answers. So I think that's good.
One
What-
of mine was community service, get your name out there,
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
just, even if they're not gonna be a customer or a client, but still get your name out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're stealing my thunder.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right. That's
That
good.
was a good
No,
one.
absolutely. Okay, well, good. Well, you know, I'm really impressed. I really am. Here's what I kind of thought. Here's what I predicted. Some of the things that would come out or would be close to. You know, hard work. You know, I'm gonna work harder. Service. Okay, so some of you guys did say, you know, better customer service, and you were kind of thinking along those lines. But what does that mean? You know, how does that translate? You know, Mike said, you know, just answering your phone. Okay, so that could be a better service than someone that's not going to answer their phone. All right. What other things do you think about when you think about better service?
Like Essie's letter that she got, always available, you know, willing to, you know,
Mhm.
cancel
Go
something
the
so she
extra
can meet with
mile.
somebody,
Right.
you know, and making a point to do that.
Okay. Good. Absolutely. Okay. So did anybody think about, like, you know, more marketing dollars? Like I spend more money on marketing your property, or we do more marketing than other companies. Okay, so again, these were some of the things I predicted. So here's the question: how many of your ideas, when you start thinking about how am I going to differentiate myself, like if I walk out this door right now and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to try to put myself ahead in this marketplace of the other 400 plus members that we have in the MLS, and God knows how many we have that aren't even subscribing to the MLS, that are licensed, okay? How do I get myself into that top 5, that top 10, you know, that top 5 or 10% even of that group? How am I setting myself apart? So the thought I had was it because I believe, and I did this myself, but I believe that a lot of times when we start going down that route, our minds tend to think in terms of what can I do that involves more of my time, more of my exertion, more of my money. You know, I remember a time in my career where I thought, you know, I want to be able to walk in and say I spend more money on marketing than anybody else. You know, well, you know, that's one way you can do it. But again, just consider the fact that sometimes that is our first way of thinking about how we're going to distinguish ourselves. Is it easier to, here we are, holiday season, right? Is it easier to cut a check or to take the time to go and do shopping on behalf of some of the people that need it? Okay? It's, you know, in my mind, it's 10 times easier. And I'm not judging here. I'm not saying, you know, don't write a check, because please do. But think about it. You know, sometimes the service of going and doing it is worth as much or more than whoever it was that wrote that check. Do you understand? And so just what I want to do is try to help us to understand that a lot of times the way we typically first think about things is, I'm gonna work harder, I'm gonna put in more time, I'm gonna, you know, and we literally like wrench down on, you know, working harder. Whereas what I'm hoping to explain and show today is that brand is about working smarter. Brand is about having something of value that will work for you once you've built it, right? So, so again, let's keep going here. This is my favorite definition of brand after reading about 20. A brand is the set of expectations, memories, stories, and relationships that, taken together, account for a consumer's decision to choose one product or service over another. If the consumer, whether it's a business, a buyer, a voter, or a donor, doesn't pay a premium, make a selection, or spread the word, then no brand value exists for that customer. Okay? So, again, you know, that first sentence, a brand is a set of expectations, memories, stories, and relationships that, taken together, account for a consumer's decision to choose one product or service over another. Give me an example of one of those things that we've learned about or experienced in the last month or two of doing our business. Have we does that make sense what I'm saying? Can you think of ways that you may have, without even realizing it, exhibited your brand with your customers? I'll give you a hint. We read some letters the other day from customers. Okay? So is that part of your brand? I mean, the fact that a customer was willing to go out of their way to speak about several of our agents, and many of you have gotten these letters, even since I've been here. But based on this definition, would that not constitute part of what you can call your brand? Okay. So again, I think I'm leading up to something here, so stay with me. Okay, so here's the most important part. If the consumer, whether it's a business, buyer, voter, or donor, doesn't pay a premium, make a selection, or spread the word, then no brand value exists for that consumer. Give me an example of a business people hate to have to use, but they do. And there's literally almost no choice, but you're just going to have to use.
Insurance.
What's that?
Insurance.
Insurance?
Roto-Rooter.
Okay. Yeah.
The mortuary.
Mortuary. There's very few choices there.
Maintenance on your house,
Okay.
heating, air conditioning.
Okay. I think we've all probably had times where we were very limited in the choice of a service provider, or a service in general. Typically, is your experience with that company better or worse? I mean, just on average. Yeah, I'll tell you who I think about is in Athens. There was one company. If you wanted cable internet and cable TV, there was one company you could deal with. That's it. The county had secured a deal for the entire county. If you wanted cable and cable TV and cable internet, you had to deal with this company. Okay? And I will tell you, by far, every time I moved or had to call them, it was the most excruciating experience of my life. Okay? There's no brand, as far as I'm concerned, and I won't say the name of the company, but for this company, there is no brand. The brand is actually a negative value, because when I think about that brand and having to use it, it actually makes me anxious, makes me frustrated. I get it, a miserable feeling. I just don't want to do it.
Well,
Okay.
if they're the only one available, they didn't have to care about a brand then, right?
Right. Yeah, that's true. But I use that as an example because sometimes an industry can be, the entire industry across several different companies, an entire industry can have an effect on the consumer that actually devalues their brand. Can anybody think of an entire industry where no matter where you go, almost, you don't see that set of expectations, memories, stories, and relationships that where people would actually say, "Oh, I would love to recommend this company." Can y'all think of any industries off the top of your head?
Gasoline,
So service stations.
right.
Okay. For me, the job I had prior to this, I did a lot of traveling. And depending on where I was going in the country, there were different airlines that would support the different areas and typically would offer pricing, you know. And my experience with almost all of them is, I would say, just right on par to even a little bit subpar, from the standpoint that to me, that whole industry is just not, they're not creating this kind of a experience for the most part. Southwest is probably in my mind, has put the best dent in it, you know, and they've tried to differentiate, they've tried to create sort of a different atmosphere, okay, and I think they've done a pretty good job. Has anybody flown Southwest before? Okay. And so, but again, we'll come back to this, but I think it's important. So I wanted to read it, and that is the definition that Seth Godin, which is a name I want you to write down. Seth Godin. We're going to see a video of his in just a second, but
How do you spell the last name?
Goden, I think. It'll be up here in a second.
George, what you were saying about the airlines.
Yep.
You get on a plane and you go from destination to destination, and usually the airport is a municipally owned airport, so that's separate from everything else. What I find that the airlines don't do is there are some differentiations. Like as an example, Delta in their regular seating has 24-inch seats, whereas Transair has 22-inch seats.
Okay.
Now, for a guy like me, that makes a difference. But they say nothing about that. You actually have to be looking online, trying to do comparisons to determine that.
Interesting.
So there are differentiations, you know, what they serve as a snack, those kinds of things.
Yeah, you're
But
right.
they don't do a very good job of getting that out to the public. And I don't really think that really matters to most people. They're looking at a price and a time.
Yeah.
Well, the airline industry, with the help of the government, is, over a period of time, is just taking the personalness, sometimes even the professionalism of it, out of the picture.
Right.
It's not in the equation anymore, where before, I mean, you used to notice this, you used to notice that, you used to notice, they've all gone.
Yeah.
I mean, Southwest isn't the greatest, I like their business plan, but I think
Yeah.
overall it's
Yeah.
that good of a enticement, but,
Right.
so I think they just, anytime you get into a monopolistic type of situation, it's gonna, if you're running a monopolistic company,
Yeah.
you're not inclined to do this
Right.
more and more and more. I mean, you don't have to, and it breeds it out of you.
It really does. It really does.
Utility companies are a perfect
Yeah,
example.
exactly.
I had a terrible experience. I won't go into it, but I had a terrible experience recently with a major cell phone company. I think that's another one too. That they and what I learned through the process is I mean, to me, there's no other explanation other than there's just collusion and that there's antitrust violations going on with these companies because. You know, I own this. I'll go ahead and tell you, I owned an iPhone, and outright. Didn't have a contract on it or anything. It was a Verizon iPhone that I bought from someone or bartered with for someone, and I cannot, and you cannot, with any company, get just a phone call program on an iPhone or any smartphone. No providers allow it. if you're gonna use a smartphone for your telephone, you have to have the data package, which to me is a complete crock.
Well, they told me the phone wouldn't work properly if you didn't.
Well, that's just not true. It's not true, because my kids have my old iPhones, they're not hooked up even to a cell service, and all the functions on them work. In fact, there's apps that you can pay like $3 and get like 500 minutes and make phone calls through the phone, through the internet, as long as you're connected to Wi-Fi. And so, all of those functions work, you know. I mean, the visual voicemail may not work, but you just call in the voicemail just like you would on your phone. So to me, it was like, you know, but here's my point. Here's my point. It's not just monopolistic businesses. I mean, we're in an industry where the norm, in a lot of ways, has become to just do the basic stuff. You know, well, what's the fee? Well, it's, you know, there's not a lot of differentiation on the fee. It's 6 or 7%. So so you can't distinguish the brand from that. You see, if they're not paying the premium, then that's your brand is not demonstrating value there, right? Somebody has to be willing to pay that premium for it to be a brand, you know, and for the brand to be working. Now, there are brands that are synonymous with pricing only, you know, and like what are some companies out there that their main thing is they're going to sell it to you, that product or that service, for less money?
Walmart.
Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
What's their motto?
They're not.
But yeah, that's a perception. That's
Okay.
I used to shop them when I was in retail, and they just, you know,
Yeah.
even on their trucks as they go down the road, they've got lowest price.
Yeah.
So
Always.
they're always pumping
Pushing
that.
that. Yeah.
And they're always everyday pricing. You know, whatever the price is today, it's not on sale. It may be less today than it was a month ago, but it's slow pricing.
Yeah. That's interesting. So, a brand's value is merely the sum total of how much extra people will pay or how often they choose the expectations, memories, stories, and relationships of one brand over the alternatives. Okay? Just something to think about. Let's keep moving, because that's Seth Godin. All right.
Well, we've got a realtor in town. Her branding is, I'm the number one seller of high-end homes, and that's Denny Jones. And she has that reputation, and she sells a lot of high-end homes.
Behind the Brand takes an inside look at the people that are
Here's
making things
Seth.
happen. From up-and-coming
Y'all
entrepreneurs
hear
to
that?
the big guys, we show you how they go about their business. Meet the innovators with the know-how and vision to succeed. Get behind the brand.
Have you ever wanted to design a logo, magazine,
Oh my
poster, or even a website? At lynda.com,
Come on, Internet.
Everyone in the room sits there quietly, because you're now the expert. Why are you the expert? Because you figured out what to say when you answered the phone, and you're the only person in the room at your level who's ever talked to a customer,
I
and you've
am.
talked to 200 of them. What does that cost? Right? And so the point is that we all have so many more degrees of freedom than we give ourselves credit for. Even if you're a waitress at Denny's, you can figure out how to be the waitress they will miss if you're gone.
And if, you know, the napkins are out of place, or, you know, you think we should have shinier spoons, you could take care of that.
Yeah.
It is about picking yourself.
Right, and you know, every once in a while you hear the case of, you know, some waitress who got a $10,000 tip because some guy had come in so often, and, you know, finally he said, thank you, right? Now, she's not doing it for the $10,000 tip. She's doing it because discovering how to smile differently or talk differently to make the patron have an engagement with you, that's your real job. Your job is not to bring the eggs from one place in the restaurant to the other. They can do that themselves at a buffet. They're coming because you are a human being. And what human beings do is art, is new stuff, is connection. And this humanity is what has been boiled out of us. And what we're seeing is it's coming back in, right? There's this phrase that's been ringing around my head all day today, which is, you know, Tom Peters wrote a magazine story years ago called Brand Called Freedom. So it was brilliant. And it totally changed the way people thought things. But my new thing is, I'm not a brand. You're not a brand. You're a person. entering this world where it's okay to be a person again.
Excellent. Seth, as always, thank you so much for being here with us. Appreciate you coming here. Great talking with you all.
Well, I just want to say, I think the community needs to recognize the fact that you're out there poking every day, that you're not sitting there following the map. It's all about how you can connect
All right.
with people, how you can.
Good stuff. What do y'all think about that?
Good stuff.
Yeah. I think that, you know, I like his analogy, you know, and how he talked about we're not a brand. In a way, we're not. We're people. So there's something there about connecting the personal factor with having the brand as he defined it earlier. You know, and so here's the question. So what is it about the server that he mentioned? You know, because we've heard those stories, you know, and it's true. People have literally walked in, had a meal, and given a $10,000 tip to people, you know. So what is it about the server that would cause someone to leave a $10,000 tip? I think there's importance in understanding that. What do you think?
Rapport with the customer.
Okay, rapport?
Over and beyond the Call of Duty.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Service with a smile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Genuinely
smile.
interested
Good
in the
smile.
person.
Right? Yeah, I mean, think about it. Like, there's a lot of good servers out there. There's a lot of people that are pretty good at what they do. They're gonna get the things done that they're required to do, you know, and that are good, really good. But what is it about this person that made them so special that somebody would do something like that? So, is that same kind of loyalty, can that translate into our business?
Sure.
Okay. So again, just think about that. Think about what is the real difference in terms of hours worked between a server that earns 10 to 15% on a tip and somebody that is worthy of getting a $10,000 tip? How many more hours per week on average do you think that other server, the one that got the $10,000, how many more hours per week do you think they work? How much more money do you think they spend on what they're doing to solicit a response like that? No, sir, zero. You're exactly right. $0. Do y'all understand what I'm getting at here? Okay, 2 people got up, got dressed, went to work, and did virtually almost the exact same thing. One got a $3 tip and one got a $10,000 tip. Okay? So I want you to think about that. I believe there are some parallels here. And I think that there are some in this room that will figure this out, and they will learn this at this point in their career, and they will understand that there's not always a linear progression to what you do. Sometimes you can have extremely disproportionate success. And if it's not a ton of more money that they're spending and a ton more time, or even if necessarily they're working harder, okay, what is it? Okay, so again, you know, a couple things, and I'm going to go into some practicals here in a minute, but does anybody want to take a shot at the one word that I'm looking for, that I believe it all boils down to? All right, let's keep going. Maybe it'll come to you.
I've got one, but that's
Throw-
the one you're looking for.
Throw it out there. Oh, okay.
An eccentric customer.
Okay. Yeah, and maybe that's what that was, you know, I don't know. All right, so here's the first thing, and this is something I want to stress. Number one, I'm not necessarily an expert at branding. I want to communicate that. Number two, number one rule of marketing is break the rules. There are no rules. Okay. Most of the case studies that I read in marketing in my MBA, if the people had done the conventional logic and wisdom and what professors had taught for years and years and years about marketing, then they wouldn't have been in that case study. Okay? Almost without fail, the companies that made huge advancements in their marketing and in their business, they did things differently. Okay? So break the rules, look for molds to break in this business. This is a very old business, real estate sales, okay, brokerage business, okay? Find ways to break the mold, okay? Marketing and branding require creative intentionality. You have to break away from your normal daily routine and think creatively. And sometimes get other people to help you. How can you be different? What can you do? How can you get your brand out there, okay? Open your mind and don't judge while you're brainstorming. So that's a big part. So I'm actually gonna send you this link. I want you to watch this. But in the essence of getting done, how many people have seen the Dove commercial that has the two sketches that the guys
I
did?
have seen it.
Have y'all seen that?
Mhm.
Okay. I wish I had time. It's about 3 minutes, but I don't want to be late. So we're gonna keep moving. I know y'all are like, please be late.
We can get
lunch.
So,
Okay, so I got 9 minutes as far as is anybody debating that, 9 minutes at this point? All right, watch that commercial, okay? And what you'll find is that there's not one Dove employee, there's not one bar of soap shown, there's no, it's not even really about Dove. Like it's not like the normal lather up. I've got the muscular dude in the shower and I'm like, washing with a bar of soap commercial that we all grew up watching. Okay, it's a completely different deal, but you're literally tearing up at the end of it. And so what's in a story, right? What happened? What worked? And I want you to watch the commercial, but the bottom line is that it did work. I mean, they have experienced significant growth since they ran that series of commercials. And to me, the whole thing about it was unconventional. It was totally unconventional, but they made people feel something. Okay, so as you're thinking about this brand, the word feeling needs to be, what would make somebody give someone a $10,000 tip if it didn't have something to do with what they're feeling on the inside? Here's a woman who comes to work. She probably has major challenges at home. It's a feeling like this person has done such a good job. I just feel overwhelmed and I want to support that cause. Okay, so think about that. The same transaction happens with us and can happen with us. So there's another video that I want you to watch because it's not just about a story. You have to include the logos part. Remember the logic? And so this video talks about a guy who he explains how we can market in such a way where we're using the story, but we're also using logic and numbers and sort of a planned approach to make sure that you're not just trying to make somebody feel something, but they also understand, hey, this person is a. We talked about it in our marketing presentation, so you'll get that and you'll have time to look at that. So, how can we incorporate storytelling into our branding and marketing? Any ideas?
We can talk about your past successes.
Mm-hmm.
Your
You're
testimony.
getting ready to get a listing, and you can say, well, I just sold this house down the street.
Right.
That type of thing, yeah.
Right. That's good. All right, keep thinking about that for a minute. All right. One concept around branding, and we talk about this in other classes, is the word of mouth. Okay, and how important that is, and especially in this business. And this is from an excerpt from that book that I was talking about the very beginning. I don't even remember the name of it. The brand called You. Thank you. And he says, the key to any personal branding campaign is word of mouth marketing. Your network of friends, colleagues, clients, and customers is the most important marketing vehicle you've got. What they say about you and your contributions is what the market will ultimately gauge as the value of your brand. So the big trick to building your brand is to find ways to nurture your network of colleagues consciously. Okay? So, give you a little hint there. But how can we do that? How do we nurture our network, which is another way of just saying your sphere of influence, right? Those are the same people I'm asking you to call and stay in touch with. So how do we do that?
Like you just said, call and stay in touch.
That's probably one of the best ways you can. But brand is also about building that farming component into it and making sure that you've got things that are working like clockwork to help present this image and this feeling that you're trying to create, okay? And so, just again, thinking about this slide that we had in a previous class, okay? Again, brand is about tapping back into that lifetime customer. It's not just what they're going to buy from you if they buy or sell 2 or 3 times. It's the fact that they know hundreds of people, right? And if they say anything kind about you or ever give you as a referral, you have no idea how far ahead you've jumped, how many hundreds of dollars of marketing money you just didn't have to spend because that person endorsed you, right? So a lot of this branding concept, it needs to focus on nurturing your network, okay? So again, we're cutting short on time and we started about 10 minutes late. So think of 3 to 5 ways. This is your homework that you can nurture your network, aka SOI, okay? So what now? I'm going to run through these very quickly. And my goal here today was to leave you thinking about this. Okay, and I'm going to tell you what the magic word is at the very end. But number 1, figure out your budget. This ain't free. Now, it doesn't cost that much if compared to what you'll get from it. In other words, it's a great investment, but you do have to have a budget. The brand you build visually has to match your story, okay? And it has to accentuate your story. So you do have to have visual. You have to incorporate your brand into your marketing, into your email, into your LinkedIn, it's a social media thing these days too. Okay, all that's important. So you got to figure out your budget. How are you going to do that? Do you want to build a logo? Do you want to, this is the second part, putting a plan together. What can you afford to implement? Maybe you can't afford to pay a professional designer to do your logo right now. Okay? Maybe you can. Maybe you can't afford to pay a professional to help you do a video that sort of expands on your story and tells your story and helps you to market. Okay? But you got to figure out what you can do. I got 2 minutes. Consider professional help. Hobbs Herder and other companies like that are, I don't know, I haven't researched them lately, but I will tell you there are companies out there that can help you to do this. There are local people that know a lot about marketing and that can help you do this, okay? So
Stephanie can do that, and she will.
So we have a contact, so let me know if that's somebody you would want me to get you in touch with. So here's the thing. You are the brand. Get out there with it. Get involved socially. Join and head up a club. Create a positive feeling with everyone you're around. Find venues for writing. Get published, guys. You want free press? Get published. Go find a way to get speaking time. Sponsor a meeting or a scout group or a baseball team or something. Get out there and build your brand. Community service, like Jolynn was saying. Get in the newspaper. I had a half-page newspaper done on me because I figured out I was the first one to build a development that was a conservation community in Athens. A half-page newspaper article with my picture on it pointing down at the Platte. So visibility is key. So that's the presentation. It's 9:59. What I would like to do is entice you to have more conversation with me about this. Each one of you, at this point, hopefully you've got something in your brain and you need to now think about what actions you can take and step out. What can you do with this? And I'm willing to meet with each one of you individually to bounce ideas off of, think about what the next steps are. But hopefully today you'll have understood that the key word that I'm telling you about is experience. You have to create an experience with your customers. Okay? And we'll talk more about this. They're not buying the service, they're buying an experience. Does that make sense? Thank you, appreciate it. We good?
2 seconds.
All right. Well, thanks for being the loyal few, I really appreciate it. Hopefully y'all got something out of it.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, it's a start if nothing else.
Thank you.
Who'd you say could help that Mark?
Stephanie.
Who's Stephanie?
How come?
Who is it?
Yeah, she actually, working out for, Home Search Magazine.
I said myself.
But you know her.
They can get them here.
We are.
I said they already
She's still-
contacting folks.
When you're doing
Chris.
I said they
Thanks for coming.
already working on it. I said, I know Jolene, I know Jolene's sister,
Yes.
and
You
that
have to get
medical
some rest.
center.
We can get her a job.
See.
We already decided the kids need to go to Houston County. Unfortunately, they need to go to Houston County.
Good class.
See,
Thanks, sir.
I already knew y'all working on
You're gonna do
it,
it.
because y'all just enjoyed it here.